Hello, folks. Yeah, this is in response to Dragnot asking somebody to open a Hangout. So if you want to come in, please see me on Hangouts or contact me on Google Plus for a link. I'm trying to get a hold of Doc Savage here, just get him to come in because, well, he's a doctor. So maybe RSC will come in. Hi, Spooky. Fancy seeing you again. This is just a regular hangout. It is not a OBS stream. I did an OBS stream this morning. It was just for grins. Anyone? Bueller Fry. Let's see. Why can I not see this hangout?
Yeah, you beat me to it.
Don't understand this crap. Hangouts is so stupid sometimes. I am in the conversation. I'm the one who's starting the hangout, but I can't see the hangout in my own Google hangouts.google.com. It's annoying.
I'm able to see it.
Of course you are. Weird. Of course you are. It would make too much sense for you to be able to see it. For me to be able to see it. Hey, Don Treader. Yeah, it'd be nice to invite people. If I could actually invite them in via Hangouts. And then it wants me to share a link. I'm not sharing a link. I sent you an invite on Hangouts under Ian Bolton. Let's see who else is on Discord. Anyone?
I'm giving Doc Savage the link because he just messaged me on G+.
Okay. Well, we need to talk about this B17 stuff because B17 is its cyanide attached to some other stuff that your body metabolism.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Your body metabolizes it pretty much to inert, useless stuff. So that's kind of the point of it. G-Man is trying to play doctor by selling B17. Not really selling it, but advocating for its use. And B17, also known as Latrell or amygdalin, is quite a dangerous thing because it's cyanide. Hey, Doc.
Hey, guys. Thanks so much for getting the link to me. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
No problem.
And quick sound check. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Yep. Thank you so much. I just want to say before going on with anything, congratulations, Dragnot, for everything that you said.
Absolutely. He was spot on because I just had a 2-hour hangout, or no, it was 4 hours. It was long last night after the RN Raw Kent Hovind debate.
Yeah.
And it was a typical G-Man meltdown when G-Man came in at the 2-hour mark. Of course, RN found it completely amusing.
I watched it, and it was tragic comedy.
Yes.
Completely. And that's a reason I won't engage with G-Man, because I frankly don't consider him a rational adult. But my specific interest in this conversation is I have very clear boundaries. Believe in Jesus or Thor or Vishnu or Zeus if it makes you a better person day to day. If it informs your life and enriches your experience, I will fight for your right to hold those beliefs and be allowed to practice them. But keep your bullshit out of the clinic. because that kills people. And I'm personally offended by the accusation that I murder people for a living. And that's my position, and his dancing around that is characteristic of his absurdity.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I mean, to me, it's not only that he tends to do that to all science, but specifically the medical profession when it comes to and Tommy Hall does it too to the medical profession. It's like
Tommy reminds me of a kid who tried to bully me at school, who just loved being wrong and the attention it got him, because that was how his psyche was wired. And I suspect something similar. As for G-Man, he's under a lot of pressure, and he's been booted out of the Christian group. So he has to diversify to upset another group of people and get the attention his narcissistic personality demands. And that's not a judgment. That's just a statement of what I consider to be fact.
Yeah, and Tommy's narcissistic. I think G-Man just is kind of a follower. I mean, he might have narcissism too, but not to the extent Tommy does.
Well, I think he's an amazing performer, and I reiterate everything that Aaron said positively about him.
Yeah.
That on stage, and his stage in particular, he can be really remarkable, and I think he has a developable talent. But it concerns me greatly that his grip on reality seems to be decaying, particularly at present. Although, in the past, he's reached similar peaks of absurdity. And I hope that a good fraction of what we see is theater rather than pathology. But I'm not convinced of that, and I should say that is not in any way my area of expertise. But I am trained to recognize certain things, and they are writ large in his discourse.
I'm trying to get some more people to watch and hopefully join, because right now there's only 4. I'm not a particularly popular channel, and I think maybe we would have got more if maybe we'd done this on midnights. But if I'm going to get popular, I got to do stuff, right? I can't get popular just doing nothing.
The value is the record, and the conversation has value intrinsically, I think.
Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, he beat me to it.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I mean, none of us here, I suspect, will do the I have more subscribers and views dick measuring thing, which is G-Man's 3rd stage fallback argument. The 4th stage is, you're ganging on me and I'm only one Christian in a group of whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what he did. That was his final thing last night. He's like, I came in here and y'all just started laughing at me. No, you came in there to have a cordial conversation with RN Raw, and you decided to get belligerent and go full meltdown, and the only thing to do is laugh at you at that point because we can't talk. You won't let us.
Yeah, and Aaron has said in the past, and I think I think he was quoting, but I don't know the source offhand. Ideas that are ridiculous deserve ridicule. And I fully agree. And a way that I preserve my own sanity is by making fun of douchebags. But when they stray into the clinic where people can and are being harmed and dying as a result of very bad advice, and I can give examples if you want, that becomes a separate issue. It becomes like anti-vax.
Oh, anti-vaxxers, crazy people.
Well,
I loved what scientist Mel said, that anti-vaxxers are like sand people. They scare easily, but they come back in greater numbers. It's like, oh, for the win! Oh.
Well, it's when it gets, that's the point where it gets dangerous. Like flat Earth is not particularly dangerous. It's just stupid and annoying. But anti-vax is dangerous.
Yeah, I'm doubly offended by that because people are making decisions for their kids that can kill their kids or damage them severely by absence of appropriate, well-documented, and demonstrably effective medicine.
That's true, but then doesn't the excuse me, but then doesn't that raise a question as to whether they should be forced to get these vaccinations for the good of their kids and the greater? I don't know, like, I often think about this. Should these people be forced to get vaccinations because they're putting other people's lives at risk, not just their own?
I think about this a lot, and I'm involved in this kind of thing professionally. I have real problems with enforcing any kind of medical intervention, but informed consent based on a societal understanding and good education is, I think, the way forward. Now, there are instances where special regulations apply in response to dramatically virulent diseases, where vaccination and or treatment and or isolation can be instituted, certainly within the European theatre. But those are very few and very far between and have never been used. So in short, educate, 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 and hope that people who, the example being, hope that people who are not medically informed or educated, and there's no crime in that, trust that their physicians and other healthcare providers are educated and informed. In the same way as when your car needs a service, new tires, new carburetor, whatever, you take it to a mechanic, you don't take it to a dentist.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Unless the dentist also happens to be a mechanic.
Sure. And I want to be very clear. I make no judgment about what people do for a living, provided that they do it as well as they can and that it contributes.
Yeah.
So I know dick all about the fuel injection system in my vehicle. Nothing. I can polish it nice, but when it breaks, I take it to someone who's informed, who has oil on his hands, not a white coat like I wear. Not a judgment. But if you know dick all and you claim to know everything, I'm going to make fun of you.
Tommy Hall. I'm sorry, I have something in my throat.
Christopher, welcome, Chris.
Wait, this is Christopher? Oh, new avatar. Oh, it is. Sorry.
You're muted, Chris. If you're talking, we cannot hear you.
All right. Talk to us. Christopher.
There we go. There we go. Okay.
Welcome.
So you have anything to add about G-Man?
Oh God. I still remember back when TJ Kirk tried to debate him, and that's one thing about G-Man that I never got. He had all these rules that everyone had to follow, which some of them just made no sense whatsoever.
He said recently that he won't discuss anything with anyone who doesn't have a medical degree.
There's that,
I thought that was really interesting, and I just kind of sent him a list of letters that occur after my name and said, do I qualify? He hasn't looked at me yet,
Yeah. What authority could he say? I only talk to people that have like, what?
What degrees does he have?
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Like,
if I may, and I'll shut up after this because I've been kind of verbose because I'm angry.
I don't blame you.
Don't blame me in the slightest.
Yeah, when people accuse me of willful mass murder for profit, I get a little bit steamed by that. But that's a secondary thing. he has a degree in nutrition based on at least 2 videos that I've seen and have copies of. He's stated that it comes from a university that does not offer a degree in nutrition. And,
Wow.
and please see Scientist Sam's very recent video on that subject. He, based on the Doc Savage name, questioned my expertise after I explained some biochemistry to him. And I said, well, okay, you're perfectly able to do that, but I will share my entire CV with publications and patents and in the industry over the last 20 years. And I'm not bigging myself up. I'm just saying, you can have this material if you want to assess it. If you can prove that you have a degree in anything from anywhere, and I expect a fairly long wait. As in, I'm going to plant some trees today, and I'll be able to build a really, really big ship. So yeah, that's an open offer to G-Man. I really think that he becomes manic, and then anything that comes out of his mouth is, straight up the flue. He can never be held accountable for it, and I really think the guy is losing his shit.
I just found out something interesting about never mind. Go ahead.
Well, I think you had the floor, Midnight.
Yeah.
It wasn't really important, but go ahead.
No, I've completely said my piece. I would talk to this guy one-to-one, but I'm kind of reluctant to do that, given that he thinks that I'm a mass murderer.
That's one thing I'm more curious about. When did that come up, the mass murderer part?
It's by extension, and it's, I think, a reflection of Tommy Hall's argument that doctors and brackets scientists who manufacture this kind of stuff willfully administer chemotherapy to people in the knowledge that it does them harm, not any good, for profit. And I pointed out to him that the salary that I get doesn't depend on the treatments that are administered, but he rejects that. And my own involvement in this is designing and building biological drugs, including cancer therapies and biological therapies that have a radiological element, and a bunch of different drugs that have helped people live longer and more high quality lives. And that's based on the numbers, based on the massive clinical studies that are ongoing. And it kind of bothers me. The latest one was cancer doctors are stealing your money, or something similar to that. So, that's the basis of it. He hasn't said, Ian, you poison patients for money, but he has said that people who do exactly what you do in related ways do exactly this. So I want to hold him accountable. I'm going to have a beer and calm down a little bit. I'm sorry for overdoing it.
I mean, if that's you overdoing it, I hate to see when you overdo it.
Yeah, you're awful calm when you're angry. I would.
Well, thank you. And I have to say, part of that is because G-Man makes me about as angry as a 6-year-old child could. Is notable, but not extreme. And I don't feel any need to debate this guy in the same way as I don't need any. I don't feel any need to box with my 6-year-old son. That, and mean it. That would be grotesquely inappropriate.
Right.
I want to hold him accountable for his claim, and I quote, "I have a degree in nutrition from university." I don't recall it right now, but in New Jersey. Your money where your mouth is, jackass.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But he thinks he's right. You heard him before. He thinks he's right, even when he's so wrong. It's potato.
Well, so does Tommy Hall think he's right, and
Well,
he's more potato. Actually, no, I don't know. It's hard to measure.
it's really hard to tell who's more potato in that whole group that we call the clown car posse.
I think Tommy Hall gets off in a physical sense on being wrong and chastised. I could be wrong. I'm wrong about things every day. As for G-Man's position, I think he's impervious to data in any meaningful sense and has assumed this persecution where a bunch of people, myself included, have said, G-Man, talk to me in private. You know, we can have a conversation. Because, I mean, frankly, I think the guy is amazing in a lot of different ways. And I'd love to help him out with this. And just go, we're not guessing. Let me show you numbers. Let me show you the data. Let me show you the images. Let me explain this to you over, 6 30-minute periods. I'd do it for fun because it's great to understand what people have worked out. But no, goes to methylene free. And another point, the second video he showed was, I think, Dr. Antonio Jimenez from the Hope for, and that's Hope, #4 Cancer Institute, which has a longer legal history than Donald Trump. And has a rational wiki page. So Hope for Cancer Rational Wiki explains the various quackery that this douchebag is selling for big dollars. And amygdalin is one of the array of things that don't work, that he has many anecdotes supporting, but no clinical trials. So, I mean, if you reject modern medicine and evidence-based results, and you want to spend a lot of money on something that will probably shorten your life, go for it. Alternatively, go to Johns Hopkins or search the cancer research sites on the UK, based on the UK system, and you'll get some good advice. Or talk to your primary care physician rather than G-Man.
Yeah, one thing I don't get about Tommy Hall or whatever, and you say, "Oh, doctors are just in it for the money." Chemotherapy this, chemotherapy that. What about the whack jobs who push alternative medicines? Aren't they in it for the money also?
Well, they're in it for the short-term money because their parents tend to die. I mean, working in the industry, a best case in terms of financial reward would be a drug or family of drugs that made cancer a chronic disease, meaning that the patient would have to continually take the medication for the course of their natural life. And there are instances that are similar, like insulin for diabetes. Or, there are a number of other conditions that require consistent medication. So providing a highly toxic and demonstrably toxic type of therapy, like radiotherapy or chemotherapy, these are horrible things. You don't want to go through these things, but they can and do save people's lives. That makes no that makes no commercial sense if the lives of the patients are not the primary and, frankly, only consideration. So, I mean, if we were evil scumbags and had access to this kind of long-term therapy, that's exactly what we would do. But the best that we have at present, and we're working on it, consists of surgery, chemotherapy, radiotherapy. Prevention is always better, but it doesn't always work based on your genotype.
just invited Scientist Mel via Twitter, and so hopefully she responds and comes in because she's got this on lock. She invented a test for breast cancer. She has 4 degrees. She's not a doctor, but she's the next best thing.
I should be clear as well that I am not a clinician. I'm not licensed to practice medicine. My doctorate is biochemistry, undergraduate medical microbiology, and let's see, I've been doing research and or development in academia and industry the last kind of 20 years.
Oh, so you're like, okay, got it.
Yeah. My clinical practice was only in emergency medicine for a very short period of time, and it was primarily kind of trauma intervention. But as I say, that's way in the past. It's not something that I'm claiming with G-Man, at least.
Still a nutrition.
That's impressive. That's an impressive experience. I mean, it's.
I'm still stuck on the nutritional. Just wow.
It's actually a lot of fun, but you know, various personal limits result in that I might get a call in 5 days that says I need to be in Guadalajara in 2 days. So, you know, no wife, no pets, no plants kind of thing.
Oh.
But I mean, the trade-off is awesome because I get to do really cool stuff that kind of helps people some of the time, most of the time. And, you know, if you ask me, would I rather be stacking barrels? The answer would be probably not right now, but maybe one day.
See, I'm trying to think of who else would want to join this hangout. Maybe Shannon Q?
Well, or try drag as well, given that his haircut might be done.
I just sent that. I'll give it to drag.
Fiona, Jade.
I don't know how to get a hold of them other than G+. But I'm sure Midnight Sparkle could be of assistance.
Yeah, Don has a point there. You don't need to be a doctor to G-Man's full of shit.
At your service, what do I need to do?
What? You don't know how to get a hold of Fiona and Jade either?
No, okay, I'll hold on. Let me add Fiona to this.
I see that Scientist Mel is actually live at present, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, then she won't join. But I just gave Dragnot the hangout.
Let me see if she's on Facebook.
Fiona is completely awesome. I consider her an academic and cultural sister.
Well, yeah, of course she's awesome. She's a cited PhD. You don't get much more qualifications than that.
Maybe she's a slave. I don't know. I told her that you're having a stream.
She's in the same time zone as I am, so it's just after 6.
Who, Jade?
No,
no, not Jade, Fiona.
Oh well, I don't know if I don't have Fiona on Facebook.
Jade would be 8 o'clock in the morning right now.
Yeah, so she's probably asleep.
I mean, I have Godless Engineers on Discord, but I don't know if he'd like to join this.
He might. You never know. I got it too. I'll send it to him. Say, hey, we're talking about G-Man Boo. Do you want to quit playing your game and talk?
Charisma, what was your opinion of his both the meltdown and the pre-meltdown nonsense?
Oh God, that's too much to go over on that.
You watched that last night?
No, I didn't watch that last night, but I've heard already.
Maybe I can be more specific. Do you think this meltdown is a result of the Christians who appear to be really kind of nice people, telling him that he's behaving like an insane maniac.
I just think it's taken far too long for actual rational Christians. I mean, I'm using that term lightly, but there are some rational ones out there that are willing to listen to the other side. But I think it's taken them far too long to say, he doesn't represent us.
My guess is that it's taken too long, and I agree, but too long to be public. And I really think that these guys are the sort of people with integrity that I don't agree with about stuff, who said to their friend in private.
Yeah, you know.
If my buddy says to me, "You're being an asshole," I tend to listen to him.
Yeah,
even if I don't agree with him, you know?
Yeah, I tend to add, like, what makes you think I'm being an asshole? That's the first thing.
I recognize that you probably have my best interests at heart, so maybe I need to just pause and reflect for a moment. But
Exactly. You're like, what makes you think I'm being an asshole, and what can I do about it in order to avoid looking like an asshole?
Yeah, I mean, the projection is amazing to me, because when G-Man was really suffering, when the whatever, I think the Shield Squad said, "You're done, buddy," I reached out to him on Skype and went, "You know, we don't agree on a lot, but I'm sorry you're having problems with your friends. And, you know, I won't be a dick. If you want to talk about it, I'm here for you, buddy."
Yeah.
Because I have respect for him in some ways. And he was in pain, and I'm like, God, if you were my neighbor, I would do the same thing. So I'm not a Christian, but that kind of sits with the love your neighbor thing, kind of, I think.
I think he kind of brings it on himself as well at the same time. Just I just I have a hard time feeling empathy for someone that ingrained in their own bullshit to, you know, listen to anyone else.
I guess, I mean, I have empathy at a base level, in that I've been in situations where I've been confused, upset, angry, and out of control. Not very many, but that seems to be where he lives.
Yeah, plus it all harkens back to his whole narcissistic personality disorder, if you ask me.
Well, there are certainly things that he does that kind of are consistent with that. As I say, you know, talk about Jesus till the cows come home, and I'll stand by and listen, hat in hand, but stay the fuck out of medicine.
No, if you actually, okay, if you talk about Jesus and actually follows what Jesus taught, I'm perfectly acceptable with that, because Jesus was, I mean, in historical context, was a good person.
I mean, God bless him. Absolutely. All the gods bless him. And Gandhi and Kennedy and a few other people that I consider to be, you know, all of the wise teachers in context. Buddha, Eratosthenes, Pythagoras, Jesus, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, call him God. Do what he said. Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Yeah, exactly. Don't be a dick.
Yeah,
that's the part they don't seem to understand. That's the part they don't seem to follow. Just don't
use my teachings to prop up your appalling rhetoric and absence of intellect. Or rather, you know, try to be a nice person, not hurt people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
like just like the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm.
Precisely. It doesn't include knowingly poison your patients for money. That doesn't appear in it. And frankly, you know, I've worked with several hundreds of people and have been associated indirectly with perhaps, you know, many thousands, one way or another. These people are not evil. They're not in a massive international, multi-decade, multi-content continent conspiracy to murder patients for money.
Yeah.
Most of them are dedicated and have dedicated their whole professional lives.
The only ones that are doing that are the alternative medicine people. Well, not even them, because some of them actually believe.
Sure. And most of these things are benign and innocuous, and if it helps you, fantastic. And to some degree, it can help you.
There's always the placebo effect. I mean, it
helps you.
Sometimes placebos work because it tricks your brain into thinking it's actually working.
Exactly. It motivates your internal resources to do whatever is necessary. And that's a wonderful thing that I don't understand but recognize. But if that alternative medicine involves administration of a recognized and well understood metabolic toxin.
Oh, like apricot. Apricot seeds that it basically turns into cyanide in your system?
That's correct. If it involves active harm, then it comes into the worst category of alternative medicine.
Because most fruits and vegetables have the seeds in them, like apples, for instance.
Sure. And it becomes an issue when you're administering a significant dose in a purified form.
Yeah. Because, like I said, most fruit seeds do that, but not like apricot seeds. Apricot seeds are more...
It's a more concentrated.
It's concentrated. That's what I was looking for.
Eric Hovind and before him his father Kent Hovind have marketed this quite actively through their Dr. Dino brand. And I think last year received a legal cease and desist notice from the FDA, given that they're in fact breaking federal law by selling this with associated claims of curative function for cancer.
Yeah.
And they shut up really quickly after that happened.
Kind of reminds me of the whole the vaccine thing where they said mercury, since mercury is in the vaccine, that it can cause autism. I'm like, no. And
yeah.
The thing people don't get about mercury is solid liquid mercury. On that level is not toxic. Now, if you want to get toxic, you go to mercury bisulfate, and that is extremely toxic.
Aren't there? Sorry to interrupt you. Aren't there certain fishes with more mercury in them than there are in vaccines?
Sure.
Yes.
And there's more formaldehyde in pears and other.
But what chemicals are so evil and scary? Oh my God! There's mercury in these vaccines. How? Never mind. I give up. It's not,
the mercury thing is a real tale, and I'll keep it very brief. But
if you were to wipe out every single thing that had any type of poison in it, you wouldn't be able to eat anything. Period.
And you wouldn't be able to breathe or drink them.
Yep. Well, oxygen is a toxin.
The thing about mercury in vaccines was thimerosal, which is a mercury compound, a salt, like sodium chloride is a salt of sodium. Most of it, it's been removed from most vaccines, and it's contained as a preservative to prevent microbial growth. And the mercury form in thimerosal is excreted extremely rapidly in the urine. It's as different from the mercury salt that you mentioned and pure elemental mercury as sodium chloride is from sodium or chlorine, both of which will kill you.
Yeah.
So one, it's hardly ever there. Two, it's very quickly excreted.
Yep.
And three, it's non-toxic in the doses administered.
Exactly.
And again, we're not guessing.
Like I was saying, mercury in itself, elemental mercury, is not that highly toxic. Sure, I wouldn't want to swallow it to digest it, but getting it in your system is not. It's non-toxic in its current form that is in the vaccine in that low levels.
The phrase "mad as a hatter" comes from the pre-Victorian hat trade, where mercury was used as a shaping agent. So these guys were inhaling microdroplets of
Oh,
elemental mercury over years.
dimethyl mercury.
Yeah, and most of them suffered severe, or many of them suffered severe brain damage as a result of accumulated toxicity over years and decades, in the same way as lead poisoning works. But to be clear, elemental mercury is not the same thing as thimerosal, and thimerosal is very rarely included in vaccines these days.
Yeah, because it's dimethyl mercury. I mean, what was it? God damn it. Dimethyl mercury. It's not the same as elemental mercury.
Right. This is the amygdalin molecule, basically, and the little CN is cyanide.
Yep.
That is a triple bond between that C and the N. Because carbon likes to hang out with 4 bonds. So the nitrogen and the carbon together make cyanide. And the other bond, of course, is to the molecule. So that's not really stable for that cyanide to be there. It's
Yeah, it's very unstable.
The issue is mostly when this is administered orally, because the gastric environment, including the pH and enzymes, cleaves off that cyanide group. And as a function of that, the cyanide toxicity begins in the event that a sufficient dose is reached. And one of the issues with drugs like this that are not regulated is you have no idea the content of the drug that you are taking, because it is not mandated that it's quality controlled. So you might be taking a small amount, you might be taking a lethal amount, and you have no way of knowing.
And another thing, the reason they had the mercury in there to begin with was because if it wasn't in there at that time, at least, we didn't have the preservatives. You know, we didn't know about the preservatives to actually keep them from mutating.
That's right.
And if you just kept it in there without the preservatives, it would just, I mean, go bad basically, and then it would be toxic to use that vaccine on someone.
Some vaccines are made in systems that cannot guarantee sterility, or otherwise they can't be filtered to remove bacteria. And usually the specification is that in 1,000 liters, you might get 1 or 2 bacteria in the sample. And as a result of that, and the limited risk that plays to any given patient, an antibacterial agent has to be included.
Yeah.
The development and manufacture of vaccines has improved so much that most times sterility can be assured in the absence of that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm done being Obi-Wan on vaccines. Cyanide is not a good thing to ingest.
No.
And this amygdalin, inappropriately called B17, is what's called a cyanogenic compound.
Yeah.
That if you consume it, you generate cyanide in your gut. And the only time that can conceivably be beneficial to any tumor is if you have stomach cancer, because it will not only kill some of those cells, but it will also kill, anything it comes in contact to. So that's a very, very limited possible benefit.
And the rest of the stuff, your body will basically take this, and this is my understanding of it, and break it down in the liver, and you'll pee this out. It's basically inert in your body.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're looking at 2 sugar groups, essentially.
Right.
And an aromatic ring, and there's nothing of sufficient actual chemical size there to be fished out
Oh my God, poor Jackson Wade. He's talking with jungle jargon. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just had to comment on this.
Go for it. Is Jungle as insane as he comes across?
Oh, I think he's worse. DNA, your maker. I'm like, I can't do a
To
good
be-
Jungle Jordan.
To be fair to Jungle Jargon, he did have some kind of trauma. And
Yeah, that's what I heard.
So, I mean, you
So
can't really
he's
hold
off-
it against him.
He's off my red list totally.
Right.
Sorry, I just have to comment on that.
So, I don't know how many people are going to come in. There's 9 viewing. I would like to get this up, but
Hey guys, thanks for viewing. Irrespective, it's a good conversation.
yeah,
I could invite Sam.
you could.
You
It's up
could
to you,
do
it's
that.
up to you, Midnight. You're the one that has, the most to invest in that conversation. Just saying.
Here's a question for the chat and viewers and the panel here. Of the people we know to be reality deniers in the medical area, how many of them, if faced with symptoms, would attend a doctor and undergo conventional treatment because they're actually full of shit?
Well, I know Tommy admitted to Mel that
I'd
he
probably
would.
say 9 out of 10.
Open Paint 3D. So I'm just looking.
I'm of the opinion that all of them, as soon as they realized they were having significant symptoms, would be straight to their physician.
Well,
And
then
that
again,
they accept whatever that person said as effective treatment.
Yeah,
I think
right.
they're all completely full of shit.
I'm kind of reminded of Pat Robertson in this instance, where he goes around saying, just pray for it to happen, just pray for it to happen. Yet when he had a stroke, what's the first thing he did?
He went to a doctor.
Yeah. And you know what? If they ask Jesus to his face, Jesus, what should I do? I'm coughing up blood and I sweat at night really heavily and I've smoked 40 cigarettes a day for the last 20 years. Jesus would say, get your ass to the ER right now.
Yep.
or heal them himself. Probably not.
Probably not.
And pray too, because, that's a good thing to do if you believe in it. I should also say my initial academic supervisor and an example that I try to live up to is a devout Christian and pastor and preacher, and he's someone that I love as a family member. I don't agree with him in terms of his faith or his spiritual practice. But when I asked him, so, Andy, you have this thing and it's valuable to you and I think it makes you a better person. How do you reconcile that with science and blah, 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 blah? And his response was beautiful. He said, well, I think that God gave me the brain and the gifts and the opportunities that I've had, and it's my job to make the world a better place for him and his memory. And I'm like, I can't argue with any of that.
Yeah. But
when your belief system and your ignorance start to make you a dangerous douchebag, you're going to be a laughing stock and you deserve it.
Like G-Man or Vigilant Christian Mario. Oh, God, him.
And dude, it doesn't mean that I hate any of these guys. I admire them for certain things. Less so Tommy Hall, more so G-Man. True empiricism seems like a sullen, lonely person. And
No, it's Doc Savage. He has a girlfriend. Don't you hear? He has a girlfriend he talks about this stuff with.
Well, it's good, but it reminds me of high school. I don't really need to demonstrate whether I'm in or not in a relationship or define it. Good for you.
Yeah, relationships don't define people.
Well,
at least they shouldn't.
For someone that for 6 weeks carefully left the door open to show the overloaded bench press bar, I think he doth protest too much.
But
Yeah.
Doc Savage, I don't know. I've heard, like, hang on. When somebody goes to the doctor, and the doctor does what they can for them, they, for lack of a better term, fix them, and the family prays to God. Don't you feel a little offended with that?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I don't know. To
Okay.
me, it just seems like, humans, people are the ones that help your loved one. Yeah, you thank God. What the hell did he do?
You know what?
Gave
My only concern is that people get better, and if people pray and they think that helps them, and it maybe does, fantastic.
I mean, okay, that's fair enough. I don't know.
you-
It just seems
It,
like, never mind.
Well,
Figured I'd
it,
ask.
and
That
here's
seems
the
that
thing.
seems
to me, it doesn't matter.
Here's the thing with all that. It's not the doctor that actually gets the patient better. It's the patient's body. There's always a chance that they won't get better because
I'm
My,
thinking
my,
all
my clinical perspective, although that is qualified by what I shared earlier, in that I'm not in practice, my perspective is a physician and nursing staff and hospital environments and medical care provide the best internal and external environment for recovery, chemically and otherwise. And sometimes people who you don't think are going to do well, and the opposite is also true. But based on the numbers and based on the research and based on best practice, having access to good medical care and good nursing care is your best bet in response to trauma or acute or even chronic illness. And that's a provable thing. And amygdalin as a treatment for cancer has been tested and has been found non-effective and toxic.
I'm thinking also the whole prayer thing goes back to the placebo effect.
Yeah, and if it works, you know what? Swing pendulums, be a shaman, burn incense, whatever you need. It can all help you actually feel better.
But it won't cure it.
It won't cure it based on anything that I understand in terms of biochemistry or medicine.
Based
But
on empirical evidence.
people go into remission. And you know what? Even if my life was short, I'd want to feel as good as I could. And if praying or any of these practices helped, I would actively encourage it. But go to the doctor and listen to people who know about this stuff.
Yeah, but the problem becomes, when they don't listen to the doctor and they'll be like, oh, no thanks, I'm just gonna pray. I'm just gonna pray, 5 times a day and see what happens. I'm like,
I mean,
okay.
To reiterate, alternative medicine has a value. But when alternative medicine involves administering a lethal toxin, then that value diminishes very quickly. Now, if you have cancer and you're taking homeopathic remedies and medicine that's proven to work, I'll say, do the homeopathic remedies make you feel better? Yes, keep taking them because they're innocuous. But amygdalin is not innocuous. It is a cyanogenic compound, and cyanide kills everything it comes in contact with.
Yep.
Also,
All
G-Man is a complete douchebag, and I don't murder anyone.
Well, yeah, on purpose anyway. Actually, no, never mind. Never mind. I shouldn't make the.
No, absolutely, absolutely. You're quite right, and that's why I'm kind of verbose.
That's another thing that goes along with the whole the people that say no, there's a cure for cancer out there. We just I'm like, no, because there are thousands of types of cancer that affects everything in your system, they all act differently, and they all come from
Yeah.
different sources.
I blame Family Guy for that one. There was an
Yeah.
episode where Carter had the cure for cancer. And
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah.
Referring to cancer as a single disease is as
No.
absurd as referring to the USSR as a single country, even more so.
yeah.
And I've shown Tommy Hall specific details of cancer survival rates with and without chemotherapy, with and without alternative therapy, both in children and adults. And the correlation is very, very clear. If you have cancer that's diagnosed early and you're treated using best practice of what is called Western medicine, today you have a much better chance of surviving more than 50 different tumor types for a more extended period, and we're talking about the difference between 2 years and 10 years, than you did 10 years ago, let alone 20, 30, and 40 years ago. So the evidence indicates that access to these therapies prolongs your life in response to a potentially lethal illness. And the best he can come up with in response to that is conspiracy. So I really have nothing more to say to the guy.
It's a conspiracy!
I can't say conspiracy theorists.
I said in a comment that, God, I mean, I wish with all my heart that amygdalin and even apricot seeds cured cancer. If that was the case, if that was demonstrably the case, I would devote my life to administering apricot seeds throughout the world to every single cancer patient, all of my resources. I would call Bill Gates today and say, dude, this shit works. Well, let's give it to the world. The idea that this is a repressed cure is suggestive that, well, it suggests directly that G-Man thinks the fascists won the war and we're actively murdering people who are sick. And, you know...
Well, I mean, he does seem to think that... Go ahead, sorry.
But the amygdalin thing, it kind of goes back to the bloodletting thing back, when we didn't know about medicine and we were draining people their blood to cure diseases. It's the same thing.
And
a lot of mistakes were made.
It's actually very similar because there are very few conditions where if you have no other alternative, bloodletting can help you more than it hurts you. If you have no alternatives,
like dialysis, dialysis is essentially bloodletting, but you're recycling that blood back into the system.
Slightly different, but yeah, the same kind of thing. But it doesn't mean that today it's an appropriate treatment.
Yeah.
Whereas
except for dialysis, but of course.
Yeah.
That's.
So I wish he would get back to preaching about Jesus and kinds and evolution and being Hovind, because given the legal action that was threatened in terms of amygdalin sales by Hovind, he shut up about this. So maybe G-Man hasn't caught up with what an FDA letter to cease and desist means. It basically means you are demonstrably guilty of a federal crime. You better not do this again, otherwise you get 3 to 5 minimum.
Mm-hmm.
There's no big, the trial is for show at that point. They have the evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically saying in a legal format, you done fucked up, but maybe you haven't killed anyone just yet. We're giving you some really good advice. Don't sell cyanide and call it medicine.
Yeah.
Also, Ken Hovind, the Loch Ness Monster isn't very good evidence for a young Earth, and you're a jackass.
Well, and Eric tried the same thing. Eric tried to do the The exact same thing Kent did with amygdalin. And
Yeah, well, he had back stock when his dad went to prison for 54 counts of fraud or tax evasion, pardon me.
Yeah.
And Eric also got an FDA letter. And Eric also very quickly shut up because someone whispered in his ear and said, "Do you want to join your dad inside?"
I still remember the hashtag Free Kent Hovind.
Well,
trying
then again, I watched.
to avoid taxes is a big thing. Like, that's what they got Al Capone on. They couldn't prove he did anything else
Yeah,
but avoid paying taxes. And
that's,
guess
if
what? You
it's,
get sent up for that.
you,
yeah,
you
follow
can
the
do
money.
anything you want, but if you avoid taxes, they're gonna get you.
Yeah, also, I mean, the FDA, like all agencies of that type, has flaws, and it's a bureaucratic thing, and the same could be said of any really complex environment. But they exist for one reason and one reason only, and that's to guarantee as best possible, based on the evidence that we have and the current scientific and medical understanding, that what you put in your body isn't going to kill you.
Well, I guarantee you that CNN business there will kill you. Get enough of that fast enough.
What it does is inhibits the function of your mitochondria, which means that it's essentially an internal cellular antibiotic in that respect. But ultimately, what it means is if it comes into contact with a sufficient number of chemical units within your cells, they die. It's a respiratory toxin. At a sufficient dose, your body can no longer process oxygen to generate energy, and you basically turn blue and suffocate chemically.
Yeah, you'll suffocate with an oxygen saturation of 99% in your bloodstream.
Yeah. And if you doubt me, ask Hermann Goering, because that's how he took the way out. Amygdalin is going to give you a less concentrated dose. But again, I stress this. This is a non-controlled substance, meaning that quality control on the product is so limited that you have no idea what dose you're actually taking, no matter what it says on the bottle. So you could be consuming an innocuous dose or a lethal dose. You have no idea.
Well, I mean, and I don't know exactly how many cells one molecule. I think it's probably one molecule is only going to severely inhibit a single mitochondria, basically.
Yeah, and dose makes toxicity. Water in a sufficient dose will kill you.
Right.
The dose for cyanide is dramatically less. And given that administration of this medicine in an uncontrolled form means you have no idea what dose you're taking, it's Russian roulette.
Yep. And the placebo effect only works so far. Cyanide isn't going to help.
Yeah.
Nope.
Period.
You know, wave crystals do all the stuff that my much beloved sister believes in, dowsing, or, you know, praying to the spirits or the goddess. Fantastic. Don't ingest toxins.
Right.
Right.
It's crazy.
Dragnaut says he'll be in soon.
Yay.
He says he'll be in soon. He's still getting his hair cut.
Wow.
The movie The Princess Bride was not accurate in that aspect of taking small amounts of the poisons. It's not going to make you immune to said poison.
In certain instances, it can. You build
Wasn't there a Roman emperor that did that?
Nero, wasn't it?
No, it was somebody else.
For clarity, it's really not a good idea, although you can do it to some degree. I mean, there are anecdotal accounts of Rasputin surviving, huge amounts of toxin, but frankly, given the circumstances of his death, I think he was drinking and barfing a lot.
But didn't they also say Rasputin was a wizard?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I mean, any anecdotal account of Rasputin, I probably would not trust.
Well, I'm thinking of Andre the Giant and that wonderful movie Princess Bride, but Rasputin was like apparently the evil Andre the Giant with a great big dick, apparently.
Yeah, great big dick. Yeah.
But immunity to toxins, well, the only verifiable stuff I can talk about is botulinum toxin, Clostridium botulinum, and tetanus toxin, diphtheria antitoxin. You can be immunized against these things so that when you become unwell or injured, you don't die a horrible death. And I noticed none of the anti-vaxxers have a problem with tetanus.
Yeah.
I think it's because they don't see tetanus as a nasty, icky, communicable disease. They have no concept of it as an illness because no one in their immediate group has ever seen it.
Well, I prefer to keep my ability to speak.
Yeah, and not be dead.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be good, generally.
Well, isn't that one of the symptoms of tetanus? Is you paralysis and you're in a jaw?
It says that tetanus results in the toxin administered at an appropriate dose results in spastic paralysis, which means that all of your muscles contract. That usually results in the kind of exorcist body contortions that the young lady in the movie underwent. So your spine arches because the strongest muscles overcome the weaker ones. And you go into a horrendous state and can actually damage your internal organs and your bones as a result of it. But people don't see that because we're vaccinated against it. Botulism, Clostridium botulinum, does the opposite. It's a very similar thing. Flaccid paralysis, your head drops, your muscles droop, and your body dies as a result of having no muscular function whatsoever. And both are horrible and both are preventable.
Well, the rabies is like Fiona could tell you about rabies because she's gone through that series a couple times.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, rabies is one of the few diseases that I would say, yeah, that's on my list of things not to get. But that's a viral thing rather than related to a toxin. I see Drag's joint, so I'll mute that.
Hello, Dragnot.
The G-Man Whisperer.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the thing connected to my phone. Trying to get the car connected to the phone.
We hear you loud and clear. Drag, I think G-Man would love to be you.
Okay.
Drag's being dad. Haircuts can be traumatic. I know that anytime anyone my beard, I freak out.
So there we go. Yeah, so I woke up this morning and saw that video. I'm like, man, he is really on this B-17 shit that the Hovines are pushing. But yet it seems like he's doing another GMO thing where he didn't even know what a GMO is, but he's adamant that he knows that they're dangerous.
Yeah, Dragno, he doesn't even know what an antibody is, and he's talking to me about adjuvant and immunological therapy. So I'm going to shove it sideways right up his ring.
Oh, please do, because it's funny when you start asking him like, okay, you're saying this is dangerous and this is doing this. I'm like, so what is this? G-Man. Well, I don't know. So wait, you have no idea what this thing is that you're referencing, but you just know it's dangerous. You have no idea how. It's just all right.
Yeah.
Hey, Troy, I'd like to add something really quick. That yesterday, during the Aaron Raw after show, or whatever, G-Man actually said, "I learned more from true empiricism than anyone else," and I'm like, what? Oh my
He
God.
wonders why we
He's
laugh
lying.
at him.
But when he says that, he's lying. Like, because I asked him, like, what have you learned from true empiricism, and he can't tell you any. Like, and if anybody doesn't believe that, go ask him specifically what he has learned. Don't let him just mention, "Oh, I learned intelligent design." No, what science has he actually taught you?
Well, Dragnaut, when he was talking to Aaron Raw was getting the biggest kick. I mean, I've watched Aaron Raw smile in the past a couple times, like when he was on Godless Engineers channel, and this was the biggest smile I've ever seen from the guy. Like, oh my God, he was laughing so hard. He's usually such a serious guy.
Well, when faced with absurdity, yeah, that seems to be the natural reaction to absurdity, is just to smile and laugh at it.
He seriously thought G-Man was being a Poe the whole time. He thought he was a Poe.
Well, yeah, because you can't believe that somebody could be this ignorant. Like you can, like everyone gets in kind of to their thing, their little pet topic that they may not know a whole lot about, and they'll stick to their guns, right? Because we're all human. But he's like that with everything, and so it's so hard to imagine someone like that ignorant, though.
Well, yeah, and
is the ignorance all in defense of his belief system and spiritual practice? Or do you think there's something else, something deeper going on?
I think I think it was Hogtie. I forget who it was that was talking about. I can't for the life of me, but somebody said "Shanny for Christ." It might have been Drag just now on his hangout prior to this one. Said "Shanny for Christ" was saying that G-Man can't really read, and if that is the case,
Yeah,
that
was me. It was me because someone had brought it to my attention, and I went and watched the video. Of course, that video's gone now, where she was upset with him, and she was questioning his. She was questioning his ability to comprehend scripture because he can only read a few at a time. Like he won't actually sit down and read pages upon pages like Shandy will. So with that, he doesn't understand the context because he's only reading maybe 4 or 5 lines at a time, and then he has to stop and go, fuck off somewhere.
And there's no shame in struggling with that because it's a hard thing, and it doesn't preclude tuition at a level that he would understand from me, but he's rejected that. I also said that if he paid up on his bet that Matt Delahunty never refuted any point he ever made, I would donate the money to adult literacy in his area.
I once tried to teach a friend to read who is struggling with the issue because of a learning disability, one that we're all familiar with. It's called dyslexia, and
I was about to say that.
And dyslexia is a tough one, and this person got real defensive, like because I was literally trying to force him to learn to read. Not only was I trying to force him to take the lessons, but I was trying to force him to learn it his way, or my way rather. And neither of those is going to be successful in teaching somebody. If there's something like that involved here, and I hate to speculate that there is, but because speculation is never a good idea when you're talking about another human being. It could be the reason he does blow up so hard, because when people laugh at somebody who has a disability like that. They know they're smart, but that disability of learning blocks them from truly understanding things until they learn how they learn and overcome it.
And if I can add to this, and our educational system doesn't okay, they've probably gotten better over the years, but our education system doesn't deal that well with people with with learning disability. Because in school they all want you to learn the same, to the way they're teaching. Not everybody learns the same. Now, correct me if I'm
Absolutely.
wrong, but
And I respect that completely. And intellectual ability or education are not the measure of a man. And by man, I mean member of the human species.
well, yeah, that's true, and I agree with you, but but it just seems like it's always what we use, whether consciously or subconsciously.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
You didn't graduate high school. What are you, an idiot?
well, if you didn't graduate high school and you're correcting people who have written the papers that you never read, that's a different thing.
Well, yeah, true.
If you didn't graduate high school and you're doing the best that you can, I'll work to help you however I can.
Right, and he's had offers of help, but he may not be ready to actually accept that help either.
Well,
Yeah,
it's certainly clear to me that he is not ready for that. And someone said to me, wouldn't my offer of free tuition be better for someone who wants it? And I had to say, yes.
yeah. I think part of the issue is that if he legitimately does have some type of learning disability, then he needs to humble himself. Like if he wants to be treated like a big boy who's just as competent as everyone else, then he's going to incur the downside to that, which is being held to a standard of, well, if you're misinforming people, you're going to be criticized for it, especially when it comes to people's health. So, I mean, I'm not willing to give him a break unless he's willing to humble himself first and say, look, I can't tell the guy who wrote the freaking paper that he's wrong when I don't have an education or anything resembling an education to back it up.
Here's an analogy, although I'm confident now, thanks to Drag, that G-Man doesn't get analogies. I live in northern Spain. Very few people speak English. My Spanish is horrible. I sound like Yoda or retarded Yoda when I speak. What that means is when my Spanish teacher tells me that I'm wrong, I kind of trust her judgment.
Well,
see,
yeah.
So I can actually associate with that because
in the same way as I don't take my car to the dentist.
yeah,
I'd like to reiterate though that if the dentist actually knows how to fix the car, then
yeah. But no, I can associate with that a little bit because I myself am dyslexic and I can't read large blocks of text because the words start to become jumbled and it's hard for me to read sometimes. But at least I accepted, that I have this problem, and I try on a daily basis to read as much as I can to try to.
I can read, but I can read, but I seem to zone out. Like I seem to, I'm reading, but then I seem to forget what I just. My short-term memory is horrible.
Mine too.
Let's all accept that everyone has limitations.
Yeah.
And they change from year to year and sometimes from day to day. For instance, my father used to be a tremendously powerful physical man, and now he's 78 years old and he's adjusted and makes accommodation for reality. In the same way, dyslexia is an issue. In my instance, depression and related issues are significant, but we manage these things. So can I ask a kind of direct and somewhat personal question? How do you fare with audiobooks in contrast to written text?
That's a good question. Wait, are you asking me or Christopher?
Both.
Well, to be honest, yeah, I'm not a fan of audiobooks, so I don't devour them as much as regular books. Personal preference, I guess.
Yeah, me too. I'm not that big a fan of audiobooks. I mean, like I said, what I'll do is I'll read so far until I start jumbling words.
Yeah.
I'll stop reading for a bit and then come back to whatever I was reading.
Yeah, I hear you. Thanks for the response.
I'm also not not a big fan of reading books online. I want to hold it physically, but you kind of have to read books on, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I
I want to
completely
hold it.
It's
That's another reason.
it's a very different experience, and I totally get it. But thanks for the response. I'm really interested.
Well,
in that.
'Cause I mean, I've learned pretty much everything I learned from chemistry from a couple YouTube channels like Cody's Lab and now Red, and I think
Yeah,
Backyard Scientist has a few good videos too.
Kane Academy. Wait, did you mention Kane Academy?
can I recommend Aaron Ra's educational series as well? Because there's a huge amount of really, really good stuff, fine-grained detail available.
Aaron Ra's series are good.
I've watched some of Aaron Ra's series. They're pretty good.
Yeah. In response to your audiobook question, you might find this one interesting. I have always found audiobooks to be very, very captivating for myself. I will sit down and read a regular book, and the visceral experience is better for me too. I don't like really reading books online either. Like a Amazon book reader just doesn't do it for me. Like, the only time I really do that is like in an airplane when I'm on a long trip for convenience sake. But as far as the audiobooks, I prefer them. I listen to / read Free Will by Sam Harris, and I'm currently listening to Carl Sagan's Cosmos.
Yeah.
So
the one thing
that works good for me. And interestingly enough, I found out at age 44 I'm autistic. So I slipped through those cracks as a child. Because I am very high functioning. I obviously can do stuff.
Same
so
here.
There are distinct personal parallels.
Right.
I wanted to get tested, but my insurance company didn't cover it, so I have to find a doctor that actually does, or pay up to get tested.
Well, I had to pay myself to get it done as well, and out of pocket. It was not cheap, but I really wanted to know for sure.
Yeah. How many times did you because I think they said they wanted $120 once and then $80 each visit.
My total test was $1,600.
Holy shit! What?
Damn.
Yeah, it's an extensive test to get a legitimate autism diagnosis. It's not.
Start saving my money then. Jeez.
It's a cognitive test. It's not just a psychological profile. It's a neuropsychological profile. They go into your psychology a lot, but they also go into how you think and how you perceive things. And I can't really go into the test because it gives it away, and they're not supposed to tell others how it works.
Fair enough.
As a very brief political point, I've lived most of my life in Northern Europe and Scandinavia, and the same kind of screening for that or other conditions costs out of pocket nothing.
Yeah, that's a problem endemic to the U.S.
And for clarity, that's consistent with a higher income tax rate, meaning for higher earners of 30 to 35%, meaning that everyone at all times can attend a physician, a hospital, or an ER without cost, out of pocket.
Can I move where you are?
Pardon?
Wait,
I didn't hear.
I said, "Can I move where you are?" It sounds like the medical. Look, never mind. I was making a joke that fell flat.
Well, I lived in the U.S. and in Canada,
Oh.
and contrasted those systems for a while. And as a 23-year-old athlete, my health insurance, which was the good kind, cost somewhere in the region of $7,000 per year.
Yeah.
That's a little pricey.
I'm not informed about such things, but that seems like a huge amount for someone in the condition that I was. However, the point remains, in a lot of the developed world, people don't pay out of pocket. And nobody goes bankrupt for getting sick.
Yeah. Whereas it's what, about 40,000 here in the U.S. 45,000 in the U.S. go bankrupt every year.
I have to mute for a while. I have a call I have to take. Sorry.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, that's a big problem in the U.S., and I think it's a lot of what leads to people trying to find these alternative medicines too, because
they can't afford the real medicine.
They can't afford the real thing, and a lot of these people are trying to take advantage of that because it's look at how much these little alternatives cost, and it's not nearly as much as the actual course of chemo costs. And they prey on that. It's a lot of money to get, an amygdalin treatment.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a lot less than chemo would cost.
Thousands less, literally.
Mm-hmm. And the poor soul that's got that cancer gets trapped into the amygdalin thing, and it probably ends up dying anyway, because the only way they could not die is if their body actually manages to get the cancer into remission on its own.
Yeah, and that doesn't happen.
And that rarely happens. Don't say it doesn't. I've seen it.
It rarely happens. Sorry.
And because there are success stories, you hear them. They're anecdotal. But
I trust anecdotal evidence as much as you can give me anecdotal evidences in one hand and shit in the other, and see which one fills up first.
Yeah, exactly. And the people selling the stuff, like the Hovens, actually,
oh god, yeah,
actually win. They make money on that stuff.
Yeah,
I think Eric sold his last movie for Answers in Genesis specifically to cover his legal costs. It almost, the timing was that coincidental.
There are no coincidences.
Yeah, I see a strong correlation between being a religious cult warrior.
Guys, causation.
Didn't sold the Ark Park with the boat that he built for $100 million subsidized dollars. Sold it to himself.
That was such a waste of fucking money. I'm sorry, but that was just
taxpayer money at that.
But remember, he sold that to himself in another corporate form to avoid a sales tax for the provision of emergency services.
Well, he sold it. He sold it from sold it from a private entity to a public entity. No, not public entity, to a
nonprofit.
Nonprofit entity, in order so he didn't have to pay taxes on it.
What a fucking loophole!
But
and
Kentucky won. Kentucky won on that.
Completely busted on that whole shenanigan. Mm-hmm. Because the tax benefits he used to build the place that he was recouping year by year were detracted, that they were abolished as a result of him selling this to a for-profit company. So he fucked himself twice.
Yeah.
But God bless him. It's all Jesus and good stories and genocide.
Yep.
It's Kentucky. I mean, they already have a bad economy as it is. That just made it worse.
I know a good amusement park with a kind of small roller coaster and some roundabouts. You know, things kids can do for fun and not be lied to for maybe 5-10 million. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's really done himself proud because he has one of the progenitor species of whales on board the Ark. He's got an ambulocetus, and it's a really nice model. But this is one that's been demonstrated as part of a chain of transitional fossils to be the ancestor of all
No transitional fossils. Stop spreading that I'm kidding.
Yeah. But it's like, you really didn't do your research before you put this ambulocetus in here, did you? Because of the whole story. Oh yeah, from deer-like, cow-like mammal to the whale with the whole blowhole thing, the works. It's all there, and you've got it on the boat. You jackass.
Why would a whale need to be on a boat?
Yeah, really.
Let's just put that little sidebar out there too.
Plus, there's one thing about the flood, the whole bullshit of that. If the entire world had been flooded, then that would be seawater mixing with, fresh water becoming brackish water, which most fish can't survive in.
Yeah, but fish don't have the breath of life, apparently. So that means that Jesus put a God spell around all the fish, krill, shrimps, crabs, lobsters, and so on. And magic happened, and that makes it all right.
Well,
yeah, they say evolution is magic. I'm like, dude, your entire religion is built on magic, like literally.
If these guys were honest, like some of the Christians I know who are devout and wonderful people, and said, I don't know, and it's a mystery of faith, and the data are the data, but I don't know, and I still believe. I go, absolutely.
I know a lot of Christians down here in South Carolina that say, yeah, evolution happened. They also say God created man in the form of the ancient monkeys, and I mean, I'm simplifying it here way down, but they say that that's how God created us, and then we evolved because of God's plan.
And I asked them the question: does this help you be a better person on a day-to-day basis? And if they can answer me yes, I'm like, believe whatever you want.
Yeah.
If this makes you a hateful jackass, then I'm going to make fun of you. And
G-Man is live.
And if you progress this into the classroom, then I'm really going to take you seriously, because that's how civilizations collapse.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to call this short here in about, maybe 15 more minutes, because Aaron Ra and Rocket Man are getting together on the Non Sequitur show. So
nice.
It's going to be an interesting show. This is they say Rocket Man's time is precious. I would say that's probably because it's short if he manages to launch that thing. So
I don't think I've ever met this Rocket Man.
Rocket Man, you've never heard of Madman Mike, the guy who's trying to prove flat Earth by launching a rocket with steam?
Oh, he's awesome.
No.
He's like evil Knievel without the expertise and a whole lot more power.
Also, right. G-Man is live. G-Man versus Hurt Feelings.
Oh. Agrippa 7 is right. G-Man is just butthurt. Agrippa, I'll let you come up with a word of the day. So, well,
I really appreciate being invited to join, and thanks, guys.
Me too.
Yep, I'll invite you to my hang. Well, whenever the hell I have a stream.
Yeah, right. Be delighted to contribute as far as I can.
Well, thank you for coming in. I appreciate all three of you joining my channel because it's such a small little thing still.
Yeah.
I have more
appreciate the
subscribers than
invite.
you.
I
I have
if
happier
it's an
subscribers
issue,
almost.
let's do a thing on my minuscule channel. In total, I have maybe 300 people that pay any kind of attention. But you're
That's
welcome.
more than me. That's more than me.
That's more than me.
Yeah, I had 36 and only like 2 show up on a regular basis. And then again, I do games, not really commentary like this, but
Yeah, diversify like G-Man. He's gone from pissing off atheists to pissing off Christians to pissing off physicians, scientists all over the world. Maybe he can find a new target to be antagonized by and, whip his Skippy to be in wrong.
he better
I mean,
not
he
touch
also pisses
gaming
off.
because
I've got 71 subscribers. I had 59 yesterday. I think a lot of people subscribe because of that after hangout. So
Yeah.
anyhow, everybody have a good day, and we will see you at the whatever I see you guys.
Yep.
all right.
Okay. Many thanks.
All right, bye.